Good morning. Welcome to Ashir on Torah Time. We're up to Perek Daled, which is not even a separate Perek. It's just because the Christians put their nose into Navi, so they just divided it up. It's just like a continuation of Perek Beis and Gimel. There's not even any division over here because it's exactly in the middle of what we were discussing. With the Navi, where Yeshayahu was describing all of the different jewelry and all of the different clothing that the woman would use to seduce men and act promiscuously. So the continuation of all of that is V'hechziku sheva anoshim b'ish echad, that the nation is going to come into such a state of downfall, such a low place, where 7 women are going to grasp one man. V'hechziku sheva anoshim b'ish echad b'yoyim Lemod. They're going to say, usually when we get married, it's only because we want to have sustenance, they're saying, Lachmeinu noichel, we'll eat our own bread. V'simleseinu nilbash, we'll wear our own clothing. Rak yikore shimcha aleinu, just marry us that your name should be called upon us. Esoiv cherposeinu, gather in our disgrace. Which is a hemshech, this is a continuation of what we said in the last Perek, where the woman would rule. It's not so much an issue that the woman would rule. It would mean that, like, the women that means the women were married, the men had absolutely no word, they were doing whatever they wanted, and the opposite effect of that would be where these women were, the Hosentrager would end up begging that somebody should marry them, just that they should have the name of married, Esoiv Cherposenu. So by Yeshayahu, and on that day, now the Navi goes on the opposite. This is the way Yeshayahu Navi always goes back and forth, and he says on by Yeshayahu Yetzemach Hashem Litzvi. Now he's going that once you reach the lowest place, there's a redemption that comes forth. Every time that a person goes into a place of disgrace and a place of pain and a place of vulnerability, and he lifts his hands up to heaven, that's when there's a Yeshua that comes forth. So by Yeshayahu Yetzemach Hashem, there's going to sprout V'nu Yeshua letzvi, tzemach Hashem letzvi, u'lechavod, u'friya aretz, legoin, u'lesif eres, lefleitas Yisrael. So, on that day, the tzemach, the seedling of the Lord, which is the hope, which is always a tzemach David, it's going to sprout forth, and it's going to come into magnificence and glory, and the produce of the land will come into pride and splendor for the refugees of Israel. Which means that it's always the metaphor that whenever you have a seed in the ground, a seed only grows when it's put into the ground and it goes through a process of first rotting, and it's that rot which allows it to produce something new. So whenever we want rebirth and growth in Klal Yisrael, it's always following the same pattern. That you're acting in a certain way, your operating mode is it's like set, then your circumstances change and you end up finding yourself in like the lowest place, but that lowest place, the purpose of it is not to punish you. It's in order to allow the seed to rot, so that a new way of being and a new way of operating should grow forth, should sprout forth, and that's how the Yeshua comes. And then he continues poetically, "V'hoya nishar b'Tzion," those that will be left remaining in Tzion, "V'hanoise b'Yerushalayim," and those that will remain in Yerushalayim, "Kadosh Yom Eloi." They're going to be said on them, Kadosh, they're holy. Which is, again, it's the exact opposite of what was going on. Before, we were talking about promiscuity. We were talking about, quote-unquote, impurity. The effect of this degradation is going to be that it's going to sprout forth, and what's going to be the new growth? It's going to be that Kadosh Yom Eloi. Kol HaKosov L'chaim B'Yerushalayim. Everyone who's written for life in Yerushalayim, and it's going to transform into a place of Chayim B'Yerushalayim. And then he continues, Im rachatz Hashem es tzoyas b'nos Tzion. If the Lord is going to wash away the excrement, the tzoya of b'nos Tzion, of the daughters of Israel, ves demei Yerushalayim, and the blood of Yerushalayim, yodiach mikirba, it's going to be washed away. How is it going to be washed away? How is the tzoyas b'nos Tzion and the Demei Yerushalayim going to be washed away? Beruach mishpat uberuach bo'er, with a spirit of judgment and a spirit of bo'er, of eradication. Uvara Hashem Al Kol Mechoin Har Tzion, and Hashem is going to create on that day Al Kol Mechoin Har Tzion. It's like a cloud, Al Mikroeh Onon Yoimon, a cloud by day, V'Oshon, and a pillar of fire, V'Noiga Eish Lahava, and a glow of fire by night. Loilo, Ki Al Kol Kovet Chuppah. And on the entire Temple Mount and on Yerushalayim, there's going to be like a chuppah. It's going to be like a chuppah is a place of honor and it's a place of intimacy. A chuppah is a place where you have like a canopy where over there's a sense of intimacy and there's going to be a bond. So it's going into the result of this tzemach, of this tzmicha, is going to be that there's going to be created a sense of purity and there's going to be a fire which is going to bring an intimacy which is enclosed by a canopy. And here's where the pasuk comes from that everybody knows in Masechta Sukkah on the first blot. The Sukkah tia letzel yoimom meichoirev ulemachzu lemistor mizerem memota. And a Sukkah is going to be it's going to be a shelter for the shade by day and from the heat for the protection and refuge from storm and from rain. So whenever you learn Masechta Sukkah, you know that. How do you know a Sukkah can be gevoy l'mayla masimama? It's because Sukkah tia letzel yoimam, it's in order for the schach has to give tzel. So Rabbi Breidowitz says over from Shamshin Rifol Hirsch that what's the difference between Sukkah and a gag? So the answer is that a Sukkah offers you shade, but you can still see up to the heavens. Even up Pialoch, you have to be able to see up. You have to be able to see through the schach to be able to see the stars. So the whole concept is that there's a certain element of protection, but you're still vulnerable at the same time. Now, it's that vulnerability comes when you can still see up to the heavens, which means when you have a gag also protects you, but a gag doesn't allow you to see the heaven. So whenever you're protected, quote unquote, and you can't see the heaven, that's where the issues begin. When you go out into the sukkah and you're semi-protected of sorts, and you can see the heaven. So the whole idea is that, whenever it comes sukkahs and we talk about that a sukkah is a diras arai, the whole concept is that we go into the diras arai, we make the diras arai into a diras kva, we make the sukkah into a diras kva, that when we're going to go back inside into our house that has a gag, we should retain and take along with us this experience of realizing that I'm vulnerable. I still see up through. You have to come in after sukkahs and be able to see through your roof. You have to be able to see through your roof and be able to see that beyond my roof there's a heaven. You have to sometimes go out to experience it. It's like, every person in the world has to sometimes go watch the sunrise. At least once a year, twice a year, just in order to remain human. You have to go up and see the sunrise. Otherwise, you're disconnected from the Bria. It doesn't mean that you have to actually go start living off the grid up on a cabin. But from time to time, a person, just like Reb Nachman was busy with his boydus of going out into the forest, even when you go back, B'tzeisim in the Eid, after this is Kappa, is that when you come back into the Eid, you should still retain that experience. A person always has to go Rotze v'shoiv. So, one of the things that I remember once, one of my kids asked me for Afikoimen once that they want to watch a sunrise. No, that's not the sunrise. So, in the middle of the night, woke up in the middle of the night, and we went with flashlights, and we walked up to the top of Kakiat way before, we left 4 o'clock in the morning. And you know what it is when you sit on top of the mountain and it's dark and then you suddenly start seeing the alois slowly and then the sun rises and you're quiet and you're just sitting there. By COVID I had the best experiences where we used to go hiking every day. There was nothing to do, so we used to every single day and we used to watch this sunrise and that sunrise. Anyway, the point is that the Sukkah Tilatzol, so Reb Shamshin Folharish goes into this Inyan that what's the Mulchemes Goyg u'Mogog? So the Mulchemes Goyg u'Mogog is the same lashon of Gag. Goyg and Gag. So the Mulchemes Goyg u'Mogog is this is the fight. The Mulchemes Goyg u'Mogog when Mashiach is going to come. That means the messianic vision is that you're going to be in the Sukkah Tir L'Tzel Yoimam when you're going to realize that all of your protection is a Sukkah. You're really vulnerable and you really have to. It's really got through it. The Mulchem of Goyg is fighting the Gag. The Mulchemes Goyg u'Mogog is to fight the Gag that we have within ourselves, that we think that, I got this covered, I got this roof, And the whole Navi all the time is, whenever we get too cocky and too like, hello, this is mine, and I got this all figured out, and I'm boss, suddenly you get stripped off you become ruthless. And then you go into a sukkah. And then you can go back into the Gag with a whole new perception, Chaim.